this idea of spontaneous and responsive desire, brakes and accelerators. And this for me was all just very helpful and normalizing, because at that time I was like, I feel broken. Okay, so that intro track, for all my house heads out there, one of my favorite house producers, Sandy Rivera, also known as Kings of Tomorrow.
Shout out Sandy.
Shout out Sandy, because I hit him up and I was like, hey man, would you want to do our intro track for the pod? And he said, yup.
And he did.
And he did. He sent it to us like 2 weeks later, and he's the homie.
So every time we welcome you each week, that's who you're listening to.
That's who you're listening to. He's on tour right now in Europe. So if you're in Europe,
go check him out.
Go check him out. And check him out on Instagram at Sandy Rivera Official. He's officially very good.
We'll have his handle linked down in the description, wherever you listen to.
Thanks, Sandy. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Chronic the Podcast and our Chronic community.
Hi.
I'm still Meg.
And I'm still Jamie. Thanks for tuning in again.
Hell yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
All right. Well,
hi.
Jamie, hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
It's literally actually been a long time.
It has.
Because you were in the Big Apple.
Oh, I was.
Yeah.
I was in the Big Apple. I was helping my mom move.
And then you got sick.
And then I got sick.
Yep.
So I was inside and on the couch for like 3 days.
We love that.
And then we had Seder.
I know.
And then I went out for the one and only night in New
Mazel.
York. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
What about you? How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
We're here, friends. We made it here.
We made it.
We had notes that we're going to celebrate. Meg's had a month of feeling really good.
And then,
which we are still celebrating because it was freaking awesome. I was in a wedding.
Yeah.
I went out dancing at the High Top Queer Bar in Silver or Los Feliz, which was very fun. I highly recommend, if you're queer or not, to go to High Tops. It was very fun. But actually, this is a good little nugget for anyone who is a female or assigned female at birth, that I didn't learn this until like a year and a half into my illness. And so what I have is an inflammatory, all autoimmune, all that stuff is inflammatory response, and that's a lot of the pain. But what I didn't know, and I actually learned this from my gynecologist just a few months ago, because I was noticing that I was getting such horrible crashes the days leading up to my period. And so I went in to see my gynecologist to be like, is there something related here? And she was like, yeah, 100%. Your body, for women, if you have ovaries, it becomes inflammatory when your egg needs to get on the road. So, which is wild.
So frustrating.
But so that's why, and I've heard Dr. Mate, he's very popular all over social media, but he talks about that too, because he talks a lot about chronic illness. But he says women...
Should he be talking about it? He doesn't have ovaries.
You don't have ovaries, sir. No, he's an ovary ally. We love him.
Fine.
We need more ovary allies.
Fine.
But he says it too, that the amount of women that have autoimmune and chronic illness far surpasses men, and that's a whole other thing to get into. So if that's helpful for anyone, that if you're noticing that like once a month it's so much worse, it actually is directly related to your cycle.
Well, just kind of tying it back to last week's episode, if you tuned in, we talked about spiraling. My spirals are infinitely worse when I'm having my period.
Oh, yeah.
We know. We know.
Yeah.
She knows.
Someone takes her brain out of her head and they put this other thing in there that's like pulling on ropes, and
No, not Geppetto.
She gets a little Geppetto action, and we just ride the wave.
Oh my God. Well, if you're comfortable sharing, I wanted to ask because I don't even know if you said it, that you are feeling crashy right now.
Oh yeah, so that's what I'm sure a lot of you that have something chronic physically, that when you have good days you get excited and you're like, let's go,
do it all.
Yeah, do it all. And so I was having such progressive like go that I kept pushing a little bit more and more, being like, kind of, where's the edge? And I think it's a lot of factors, but it's not just physical exertion, but mental, all kinds of things. And yeah, so I woke up Thursday morning just like, crud, just the pain and the fatigue.
I'm sorry.
And that's all right. But this is another opportunity to share a nugget that I learned in treatment for my eating disorder, that I loved this tool and I've used it to this day, directly related to an eating disorder. So if you're starting to have an urge to like restrict or binge or isolate or any kind of destructive behavior, our therapist would say, that's a little red flag. What is this little red flag trying to tell you about you don't feel safe or you're stressing out? What's the emotional red flag happening? And I've used that for my chronic illness. It's like, okay, if my body is having a moment, something's happening, that's an effect of causes.
Right.
Let's try and look at the causes objectively, not emotionally, and think, okay, this is my body saying,
relax for a minute.
Yeah, just like,
Okay, take a second. Well, you know, I was going to ask because you mentioned you are doing this new treatment, and I was wondering if you're even able to maybe tell that, I mean, you're of course an expert on your own crashes in your own body, but I was wondering if this crash feels different than past crashes since being on the medication.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not as devastating.
Like,
I mean,
still painful, of course, but like not as like
I'm painful, I'm tired.
destroying.
Yeah, my brain feels like it's going 0 miles an hour. Jamie's been like, and now we're going to say
I'm just being a friend.
we had a dress rehearsal and I was like,
I'm being a
"Bleh."
crash ally.
She's a crowlie.
It sounds like a cronut, but I'm just being a crowlie.
I do love a cronut. I like cronuts and crowlies. I don't eat cronuts, friends. They're so
can't.
Inflammatory.
Anyway.
But yes.
So it feels a little bit
it's
better.
It's different.
Maybe?
Yeah. I think, and I have to remember that. And that's also,
that's another positive. Maybe that's, I don't know if you want to, but it's like a positive way to look at it.
You have to look at these things as an upward, you know, my dad would always say that with recovery because he's a dentist. So he, you know, he sees people recovering that they've had major surgery or whatever. And he reminds them like, look, the body is not, it's not going to go a straight line. The body is an organic.
Or like grief.
Yeah.
It's waves.
But it's an upward trajectory.
Yes.
And something that has served me a lot in this process is, again, studying the Buddhist perspective. And there's a man named Josei Toda, and he talks about illness and that it's so important to have deep appreciation for even the 1% improvement. Because when we don't have appreciation and we're just going, well, I'm not as better as I want to be. Those are all words, right? That made sense. I'm not as recovered as I want to be. And this is taking too long or like if we're in that place, it's destructive for our recovery. So I've been having to train because that's an easy place to go to. It's like, oh, God 100%. Damn it.
And also, you know, right now your roommate's out of town. So it's just you and you have Kuz,
I have Kuz, but he also requires a lot of walking.
Well, he also doesn't speak words.
He doesn't speak words.
It's not like you have someone to like commiserate verbally with.
I still talk at him, but yes.
Yeah. But, you know, he can't fully understand you.
Yeah.
But so it's so easy to just sit by yourself and be in your own head and get to that dark place.
Yeah. But so that's why, you know, like I appreciated being able to say to Jamie, I'm going through it today. And she's, you know, very graciously, well, we can push the pod recording. And I was like, based off of our spiraling episode last episode, I really learned if I am not dying, I do need to get out of the house and still do the thing.
So what did you do?
So I got out of the house
and you
doing the thing.
Yes, but I'm saying you changed your scenery. She took our own advice.
Checklist. Check.
No, but that's such like, guys, you don't have to be mentally spiraling. You can be physically spiraling, but just another encouragement to get out of there.
I felt better the second I was in the car listening to Tom Segura on Spotify.
What a fun voice. What a fun voice to listen to.
It was silly. I actually was giggling a bit by the time I got here, and I'm like, yeah, she's ready.
And here we
are.
Thank you guys so much again for tuning in and coming back to this episode. If you were watching the YouTube, I'm just going to keep calling it that. I don't really care.
It's the YouTube now.
It's the YouTube now. That's what it is. Because a reminder, guys, you can listen with your ears and you can watch us with your eyes on YouTube.
Feel us with your heart.
It's chronic_pod on YouTube. But if you watched us last week, we are filming this on iPhone. And you probably noticed it sprinkled throughout. But literally the entire last 5 minutes, Meg and I were using our hands so much. And the stupid little FaceTime things like...
Lots of thumbs up bubbles.
Couple thumbs down. A couple thumbs down.
Really aggressive thumbs down on things that were not thumbs down.
No, so those were mistakes.
That's not post-production
That was
effects.
just fun for you. That was just fun for anyone to enjoy. And if you're not watching the YouTube, then you're missing out. No, you're missing out.
Yeah, that's
what a fun, hilarious thing, just like an inside to have with the YouTube watchers.
It was absurd.
Anyway, so it's just stupid. You ready to get into it?
Let's get into it. Jamie, what is our topic this week?
This week, guys, we are talking about Sex-pectations.
Sex-pectations. What does that mean? It's another one of our portmanteaus.
It is another one of our portmanteaus. So what did I just... It's... It's so stupid. It is another one of our portmanteaus. Sexual expectations. That probably could mean a variety of things to different people. Specifically for us, this was another conversation Meg and I had just one day before we decided to bring our conversations to you guys.
For the public.
About dating and being single and getting into all the nuts and bolts, I guess I'll say, of dating. And
also people that are not dating, but maybe
hooking up or whatever journey
asexual
you're on.
Or single and happily single, or even married, because some of these conversations came up with my friend who is happily married with a child. It crosses all walks of life.
But basically we were talking one day about sex-pectations. It's sort of this unspoken thing, right? Of course, everyone has the freedom to speak up to their partner or whoever they're dating or whatever situation you're in, and you should be clear with that person. But we just felt like, I'm going to take it back to middle school, right? I'm just trying to think early.
Let's take a trip.
I'm just trying to go back to the beginning, and I was trying to find the origin of these sex-pectations, because it just kind of feels like you get the idea of how to date. Kind of, what did we say? Oh, for like blowjobs and all those things. Like, where did that come from? But really, when you start having hormones and you start being interested in people and having crushes and then maybe dating and stuff when you're younger, it really just feels like this unspoken path of, I like you, you like me.
Mouths, hands, genitalia.
And you just sort of do it, right? Whether you are ready or not, whether you even really want to or not. And
ready or not, here I come.
For me, I just want to be extremely clear that I've been lucky. I've never been in a situation where I was truly forced or miserable. It was never like that. But now, as an adult in my 30s, thinking back on so many experiences I had where, like, I think back on it and I'm like, I don't think I even wanted to do that. Why did I do that?
Well, I think why this has been sparked out of chronic, and why this actually did come blossoming out of chronic illness conversations, was because I remember we were on the couch, and again, my roommate, our friend Julie, she doesn't take shit. She's just she's like, I am so good looking and I am amazing. And she is, but she's just the most incredibly confident, self-assured person. Yeah. And she says, I wasn't always like that, but she's like imparting this wisdom into us. And I have grown so much just being around you and her in the last year. But I remember we were on the couch. Yeah. And we were talking about what I touched on in the last episode of this joke of, okay, well, if I can't get my heart rate over 110, or like,
what am I going to do?
What am I going to do if I like with someone and I need to stop? And Julie goes, then you stop.
Right.
And I was like, wait, what? It literally was this like, because I've lived by this idea my whole life that the orgasm is the completion, or their pleasure is the completion.
The only goal.
Yeah.
So, and also I think
and that we can stop.
If
I want to stop.
But also, you and I don't want to put words in your mouth, though I do feel like I know what you're going to say. I'm going to say we, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. We have discussed how we lean much more sapiosexual, but also demisexual. And so for those, we'll have information linked below, because I don't, again, not a professional, but for those that don't know or have never maybe even heard of that, because there's so many variations on the sexual spectrum that I feel like I've just learned about recently.
And it's so in the zeitgeist now, but I feel like because you and I are elder millennials, to me it was all news when I heard the word sapiosexual, and I was like,
or demi.
Oh, that's why I'm not attracted to someone physically. I need to talk to them.
Yes. And so sapiosexual, do you want to explain sapio and I'll do demi?
Sure. Sapiosexual just means the intellectual connection is what leads to sexual arousal. I can objectively look at a hot body, man or woman, and be like, hot, but it doesn't necessarily make me
spark something
sparky.
And along those same lines, demisexual just means that you don't experience sexual attraction when you look at someone first. So
they're kind of in the same
coin. World, but sapiosexual I think is more it's more specific on, I need my brain stimulated 100% to be interested in you. So I do, but I agree
like
with both,
if you don't make me laugh, you don't have to be a comedian, but if we can't banter, if there's not a quippiness, my body doesn't respond. And I think for me too, as someone who I've been, where am I on the sexuality spectrum, knowing that I've always been bisexual, but then, if I'm attracted to non-binary, then am I pansexual? And I think I felt asexual for a while, literally choosing celibacy because I don't feel safe in my body. And so it's this multi-layered thing of, am I not sexual, or am I not feeling safe, or am I, what is like, where,
or different reasons for
these things. And actually another episode, I'm hoping to get my friend in here who is trans, who we've had some great conversations about the sexual spectrum and the identity spectrum, and she has lots of really, really interesting insights about that, having been on a long journey herself. I read this during going through my breakup, but Come As You Are is a fantastic, just progressive. It was so liberating for me as a woman, and I think anyone who's reading it, but learning about spontaneous versus responsive desire, because in our society and in our media, it's all about spontaneous desire. Just you look and you're like, yeah. But for most women, and not, I won't say all women, but a lot of women, it's about responsive desire. So what that means is that the environment has to be explicitly sexy or safe or whatever it is. So the things that she talks about, we have brakes and accelerators. So if you have brakes, like you don't feel safe, or you can hear the neighbors, or they didn't shower. And for me, it's like, you don't floss, you didn't brush your teeth. And I'm like, I literally don't feel safe.
You're taken out of it.
Yeah. You're taken out of it. And so there's so many brakes, but then accelerators are, if it smells good, or you're on vacation, you're like, oh, we have all this space to not worry about things. So anyway, long-winded, but this idea of spontaneous and responsive desire, brakes and accelerators. And this for me was all just very helpful and normalizing, because at that time I was like, I feel broken.
Broken is such a great way to put it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring it back to that finding out these words and explanations and really identifying with it and being like, oh my God, it just feels it's such I feel like part of the human experience again, that like you just feel you want to belong to something, or you want to make whatever's going on,
you want to make sense of your world.
I also have walked around feeling broken, right? Because walking around, going out to the bar, being with the people, right? And it would stress me out a little bit, because people would go out and be like, wow, they're really hot, I'm immediately into you. And I would just be like, that feels fun and easy and nice, and
why doesn't it
mine
happen to
more
me?
complicated? Or I need more, right?
Just looking down like, hello,
anyone, are we alive? But then when you do connect with someone and you do get that body response, being like, oh my God, I'm not broken, thank God. Yeah, but it's all different for everybody, which makes so much sense. Like, we are not all created the same.
But that's what I love again about this book, and what Emily says is that we all have the same parts, but they're organized in different ways.
Yes.
Like even just down to like women's genitalia. I remember
not the same.
And I remember I told Julie about this, and she's like, we need to write a fucking burn track for this guy. But I remember literally being in freaking, I think middle school or like freshman year. And I'm really outing myself on this one. But I remember I was in a van with a bunch of kids, all my friends.
I thought you were going to say you were just like in some guy's van.
Oh, that's horrible. No. Yeah. I was in some mom's van.
In a van down by the river.
Learn about sex from Dane Cook. Here we go. We don't like Dane Cook.
That wasn't Dane Cook.
No, I know. Oh. That was Chris Farley. This is about a Dane Cook thing. Oh. So we're in this van, and Dane Cook, this was like when he was blowing up. Remember that?
I know he's problematic now, but God, well, I didn't.
That album slapped.
I didn't know who he was, and he came to my school, and a guy friend of mine at the time, freshman year of college, was like, "Oh, I have an extra ticket. Do you want to come see Dane Cook?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't. Who is that?" He was like, "Are you serious?" I didn't know, and then I listened to him, and he was
Swiffering the nation in his own words.
He really was.
I think I knew every word to every part of that album. But anyway,
I'm a car.
Yeah. Gas makes me run. Anyway, let's not glorify Dane Cook. We're like, we hate this guy.
Oh my God, remember it was a funny moment in time.
It was a moment in time. But again, I remember, I forget what age I was, but we're all in this van. It was all my friends. I think it was like maybe we were going to a field trip or something. But we had the Dane Cook CD on, and all of us are saying every word and laughing. And then he gets to this part, and I remember being horrified because he talks about women's genitalia, and he was like, I don't fuck with beef curtains.
Ugh.
And I remember, and he goes into detail. It's like if the inner labia are long, longer than the outer labia.
He's not into it.
He's like, ugh. He literally was like, that's disgusting, and women should get that fixed.
Well, what if we said that about all of your goddamn dicks? Do you know how many weird dicks I've seen?
Do you know how strange
Mom and family
ball
listening to this,
sacks are?
I'm so sorry.
They know they've seen weird ball sacks.
No offense to
Mom and
men
family has
listening.
seen. No, all genitalia is
great.
different, and we're like we're all like all parts are. We're over here just talking so much shit.
No, but now I'm like, we have to take that out. Us being like, how dare he talk about roast beef? Weird dicks.
It stays. Oh, hilarious. But I was
everyone's great.
I hadn't even started my period. I didn't even have boobs yet, but I remember just being like, I'd imprinted like it attached to my spine like a freaking alien lizard.
Well, you never forgot it.
But so I remember at the time I knew that my inner labia were slightly, and I hadn't seen porn yet. I hadn't really seen enough images, but I remember then as I got older starting to see more pornographic images and seeing that women had these like
all different.
No, I saw that in porn it all looks the same.
Yeah,
it's all just like small, tucked up, like you know, and that's a whole other thing about
porn
and how women literally get surgery.
Talk about sex-pectations.
It's literally sex-pectations.
Talk about that's another problem too. Not problem, but because you know, I listen to audio porn. Porn is great, but it has created sex-pectations
for women. And I don't enjoy porn, like regular heterosexual porn. I don't like it because we know good acting, and I can see in these women's faces that they're not enjoying it. I won't say that blanket statement, but like if it looks even a little bit like the woman's not enjoying it, I'm like,
not taking
I can't. I literally can't.
Well, I can't recommend, guys. I listen to Quinn. I cannot recommend audio porn.
Yeah, because then
enough.
but it's because you're safely creating the exact images of what you want these people to be.
I know I'm going on a tangent from where you want to be, but on that note about the audio porn.
How weird.
Weird, a tangent? Don't know it. No, I really, if you haven't heard about it, I mean, there's different sites. There's Quinn, there's
that first one, like Dipsy. That was the first one that came out.
Yeah, Dipsy. But I listened to Quinn, and besides the fact that you don't have anything visual to look at, which like you're saying is so much better. Yeah, you get to create what's happening in your mind, which I love. But also it's just so many more realistic situations.
Yes.
Like there are so many.
Yes.
I listen to strictly like dudes.
Well, it's because they cater it to women.
They do, but I love hearing guys that literally sound like it could be my boyfriend just talking in my ear.
Yeah.
It makes it so fun. And I have to say, like, while again, have we said we're single enough? I'm single and I'd like to date. I'm not kidding. It's been giving me a lot of ideas for things that I want to say down the road and like bring up and situations and ways to say it. And I can't recommend it enough. I love it. Just the learning and the safety. It feels safe.
That's
it's really nice.
It really does feel safe. Mm-hmm. But what didn't make me feel safe was Dane Cook talking about my labia.
What a jerk.
Anyway, it was it wasn't until I had.
I'm sorry you were so like.
It just imprinted me so much because you're a young woman and you're trying to figure out like how do I appeal to young men and you're right and like
another thing to fucking worry about.
Like girls are developing. I'm not. You know, I was like a little stick, little muscle thing, and it just anyway.
Well, tying back to what you said about Emily in the book and all these different things you need, right? You don't need that to derail you.
Oh my gosh. So when I tell you
worrying about it,
I have spent my entire sexual life being pulled out, talk about a break, being pulled out by literally the thing that Dane Cook said, which is crazy because again, as I started to see more images, and I was like, oh my gosh, my genitalia doesn't look like their genitalia. But then I forget where it came out, if it was like a National Geographic or something, but it was a feminist article where literally this artist had taken photos of all different women of different walks of life of their vulva. And as we are now learning, it's not vagina, it's vulva. It's like the whole.
Vagina's on the inside.
Vagina's on the inside. That's the whole. Which the fact that I didn't know that till last year.
Same.
Sex education in this country
needs to be better.
Come on. I mean, I honestly.
God, that's a whole other topic.
I do. I feel excited for this new generation. 'Cause, like, if I had shows like, I mean, it's wild, but if I'd had a show like Sex Education or
oh my God, such a great show.
The monster one with hormone monsters.
Oh, Big Mouth.
Big Mouth. And then there's just so much, obviously there's so many resources with social media, but
TikTok.
I feel like the youth are so empowered. Yeah. But if I had any of that information, we didn't have any of it. I didn't know that my stuff was called a vulva until last year.
We had boys watching porn where they're not being geographically factual.
Geographically?
I'm just saying. Oh, physically.
On
but
my
still,
body. The geography of my body.
But still. But you know what's interesting? Okay, something else that we didn't have growing up, but I love it now, on the note what you're saying about being self-conscious.
Yes.
Naked Attraction.
What's that?
That show that you...
Oh my
If you
Lanta.
haven't seen it...
I couldn't watch it.
I really... No. I mean... I want to recommend it, but it is also just like such a funny experience. But
watch it with your friends. It's just it's
no,
ridiculous.
You have to watch it with your friends. But there's a show on Max, HBO Max. It's from the UK, but it's called Naked Attraction, and it's a dating show where one person, and it's just, God. It shows how, America is so far ahead of other countries in so many ways, and yet we are the most prudish
We're still a
country. It's so wild because we would never have a show like this in America.
Absolutely not.
But so Naked Attraction is one person, let's just say like a woman. We'll just for the purposes of explaining quickly, like a straight woman, and they have 5 gentlemen, okay? And they're all in individual boxes.
Yes.
And slowly... the people in the boxes are fully naked, and they start like a little thing goes, and
the door
comes up, and she judges them based on their bodies, starting from the bottom. Oh no, they go from the waist down first, so she's looking at dicks.
I thought it was just like their legs first.
No, it's their dicks first. It goes up to their waist,
yeah.
and then it goes up to their neck, and you just see from the neck down, and then finally it goes up to their head, and then
it is not consistent. Every time I'm like, I know exactly what that face is gonna look like.
You're wrong every time. So each round she knocks someone else out, and then it gets down to the final 2, and the final 2 come down to meet her, and then she is fully naked. The host is fully dressed. I want to be extremely clear. The host is dressed, but it's the host, the suitor, and then the 2 finalists, and they're all naked, and then she finally decides to go on a date with one of them, and then you see what happens. But besides even just the naked thing, it is the most progressive show because they have bisexual people where they judge men and women, or gay,
or
where
non-binary.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, trans. It is such a phenomenal show, but you should watch it with your friends because it's funny. But bringing it back to
the point is that it's normalizing.
No, guys, and in not a pornographic way, looking at other people's genitalia
objectively
made me feel so much better, being like, huh. But even like,
it's just bits.
People who have hair or don't have hair.
It's just a choice.
It just made me feel so much better. Like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
And people could be into it, not into it. But at the end of the day, if you're judging me based on my labia or my hair situation and not what's in my brain, which we mentioned before, it could be Geppetto, and I'm so sorry. But
this week, Geppetto.
But I'm just saying, like, I would rather you get to know what's going on in my heart and in my mind, and you shouldn't give a shit, because
also nobody does give a shit, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Again, I spent however many all my 20s just dreading the moment that my pants come off, because I was like,
what are they going to think?
I'm going to be judged, and that's why I think it's so important that we should be seeing each other's bits and pieces, because you realize
who cares?
Going into a female locker room or a spa where women have to be naked. I remember as in my 20s going into something like that, a day spa, and just being like, it's so important that we are around each other's naked bodies in a non-sexual way, but just to normalize this crap.
You have always been such a proponent of that, and it's made me get more comfortable with it. I am going to talk about last summer. I was house sitting at that beautiful house.
Yes.
I was house sitting, and Meg and our other 2 friends came over, and there was just multiple days where these people had a beautiful home and a beautiful backyard and
the dream.
And a huge pool, which was amazing, and a hot tub. And
lots of privacy.
Just us 4 girls topless in the pool.
Just nips to the sun. I definitely broke the seal on that one. I was like, hey friends, I'm going to be topless. I'm going to be topless. And they were like, oh.
Okay. God, it was so freeing.
So great.
It was so freeing, and
just sit there and talk.
Nobody cares. I mean, I will say I was more concerned that my nipples were going to burn.
Oh, we
anything.
put SPF 80 on.
You have to. You have to.
So topless summers, we love them. That's gonna be the theme every time it's over 80 degrees.
It's so silly. But great.
But that has been the sex-pectation things was also kind of popped out of, I was having a talk with a really good guy friend of mine. We've been really close for years. And over those years, and people that have been following me on social media for a number of years, they know that I create characters that are very sexually free.
Right.
I did a lot of fun collaboration content with a sex toy company, and
but also your background as a dancer in general, just sexy.
And as a swimmer, and when you grow up again doing swim team, doing dance, you stop feeling like your body is sexual, and you're just stripping with your teammates, and you're not thinking about it. Yeah. And again, as a dancer, my body felt more like an instrument, and so I didn't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that, but that's so different than once it comes to being explicitly about sex, then I clam up. No pun intended. I literally, but that's when I'm like, whoa, now I don't want to be touched. Now I'm feeling self-conscious. But anyway, so, I'm running around in my pasties on social media.
Literally, you can go to her Instagram and
that's right. If you want to go see me sing about life coaching in the forest with my pasties, it's on the YouTube. But so anyway, me and my buddy are talking, and he's talking about, he's looking, he wants to date, and he kind of prefers a woman who's not super adventurous sexually. He's like, what?
Vanilla.
I'm good with vanilla, and that's great. And I said, yeah, me too. And he was like,
what?
I was like, yeah, dude, you knew this about me. He's like, no, I didn't. I was like, yeah, I'm not super sexual. I don't have a high libido. Like, I have so many breaks, and I'm not attracted to people easily. Like, I'm rarely attracted to people. And so I was like, yeah, dude, I don't need it to be wild. I just want to have a nice connection. I want to feel safe. It can be playful. But he was like, oh, I thought you were some crazy raunchy freak. And I'm like, God,
can't judge a book by its cover.
Literally.
No.
You can't judge a book by her social media. But I thought that would be funny to bring up. And then as a result, people have approached me in the DM or in the world being like, oh, right. And also I choreograph and host a show called Thunderbulge.
It's fantastic.
It's a comedy strip show. And so again, those characters are literally
all you're
Coachella.
Well, especially when you're hosting, right?
Yeah.
All you're doing is like sex pun, because it's a sex show. So like choreographing the sex show, dancing, pasties in the forest. It's like, oh, she likes to get down. She likes to fuck.
She can boogie.
And then you're like,
no, like I'd love to hold hands.
Yeah. No, but that was part of our conversation too with Sex-pectations. And I don't think either of us are saying that we don't want to get to that place or we don't want to do those things.
Right.
But it is, you and I are more in a place right now of, I just want to mentally and emotionally connect with someone first. And let's have like gentle kisses and let's go from there.
Yeah. And even if it is just a friends with benefits, because like Jamie is more open to a relationship. I'm not, but I'm open to like a friends with benefits situation. But again, and this was actually a good conversation I had with my ex. He would say, I still need to have a connection, even if it's kind of just a hookup situation with somebody. And I
feel the same. I feel the same.
Just because like I still want to be able to have an emotional or intellectual connection with you that's not necessarily like love or romance, but why can't you have that and just be friends with benefits?
Well, I think you can. I think, again, sometimes that's something that gets lost in the sauce, especially with social media, especially with like reality TV and like all these things, right? There's at least I'm seeing a lot of people who are like, yeah, I fucked a guy this weekend. Bye. I'm never going to talk to him again. And that just feels so foreign to me. No, that feels so foreign to me because I don't enjoy a one night stand. I don't enjoy just a hookup. Like I want to hate that. I want to know you and I want you to know me and I want there to actually like be something here.
Well, otherwise, that's the turn on is that you're excited about me, not just I'm a bag of flesh that you're going to enjoy yourself.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, literally. That's how it feels. I need to know. I need to know that you're like, oh, I'm excited about Meg, not just Meg's bits.
Yeah. Be both.
Be both.
I don't know, be excited about both.
Be excited about both. My brain and my bits. See?
Brain and bits.
Brain and bits.
Brain and bits. No, but so, again, Sex-pectations. If you are into the friends with benefits, if you are into just the hookup culture right now, we're not saying
it's wrong.
No, we're talking specifically about us and preference.
Yes. That's what I think the Sex-pectation things is about. I lived feeling like such a broken freak for so long. And then I started seeking out these resources that became so normalizing and helpful that like that's what this conversation is about is about just normalizing and so people can accept where they're at So it's not to judge any side of the spectrum.
No. And on that note, if I may bring it up, not a fantastic show. I don't know why I'm bringing this up at all.
This
the
is
story
not
is
a
good.
plug.
No, but on Netflix, there was that show Girl Boss. It was basically about the girl who created Nasty Gal, the vintage clothing store.
It's a great store.
Oh, it's cool. But there's a really great scene in an episode where she meets the love interest on the show, that she's out with the people at a bar and he's the drummer in a band, and they like make eyes and they're like and she goes home with him that night and they're making out and they're taking all their clothes off, right? They get down to their underwear, and so as a viewer watching a show, you're just like, well, yeah, they're gonna fuck because like it's a show.
That's what they're doing.
They're making out in the bed, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the makeout, she pulls away and just lays back in the bed and goes, okay, I'm good.
Yes, queen.
And he's like,
10 out of 10.
What? You're good? What do you mean? She's like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that being like, whoa, that is awesome. That because yes, and it sounds so silly that, again, I don't know why maybe I don't want to speak for everyone. I say I don't know why, like I know in my younger past I definitely felt not a lot of pressure, but you just feel like when you finally
the event.
Right.
Yeah.
Why can't you just
stop?
I think that would be so fun and sexy and cute to just like be in your underwear or even be naked. I love being naked, but not doing anything. I think that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what you get to
tip
do.
of the iceberg. I think that's so cool.
No, that again, like back to the first thing when my mind was blown open last year by Julie saying, you can stop. I'm like, where were you in my 20s?
In my 20s,
like the amount of times
of dumb hookups that you leave and you're like,
stop. There were, and you know, even if you're in love with someone and you're in a relationship with someone, like there were times where I was like, I'm
not
good.
into it. Right.
I'm good. Like we kissed a little bit on the couch and that was all I needed.
And of course, like that's a conversation too, right? Like you can, if you find a partner that really hears you, it can be a little bit of a conversation where like,
yeah,
I'm good. And they're like, we do a little bit more. It's like, oh yeah, it's part of a conversation, right? But you don't have to go to the end or you don't have to go all the way.
And that is a tricky bit. And I think that's why, especially, again, I'll speak from my own female experience, but I'll say as a female experience, I was worried about creating an issue. So it's like if I stop and then they go, well, what's wrong with me? And then like, is it going to be unsafe or is it going to be like awkward? Or I just wanted to avoid awkward or like confrontation at all costs. And I was like, it's easier for me to just push through this than be like, I literally want
Which is
you
such a
not
bummer
to do this anymore.
But that's such a real feeling too, right?
Yeah.
Of thinking, oh, well, I don't want to make them feel bad.
Yeah, that was it. That was the root.
And again, it is a conversation between two adults, two people.
Consenting people.
You know, but no, you should be free and have the power to say, this is where I'd like to stop.
Yes.
And it's not in a bad way. It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
That's what I'm comfortable with.
I feel like I'm getting my sex education just now in my 30s. It's wild.
It's so big, but kind of tying back to one of our past episodes being like, where did the information even come from in the first place?
Yeah.
There was like an invisible guidebook that we were all just blindly following for forever.
Yeah.
As you grow, as you figure out who you are and what you like and how you feel. And now we're in a place where you're like, I have more information.
Yeah.
And I am figuring some things out.
Yeah. Oh, it's like even
it's continuous though.
Yeah, like you're talking about your favorite shows, and one of the things I watched when I was really sick last year, I so excited. Crushed through Jewish Matchmaker. Yeah. I adored it. I thought it was so great. I learned so much. Jamie is Jewish. I am not. Yeah. I was like, the culture, and I would tell her things, and she'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Can I just say, because I know where you're leading, but like, there's just so much about Jewish culture and also like Yiddish and all these things that it's so extensive and I don't know all of it. And shout out to my mom, because to this day I am about to turn 38. Literally the other day my mom was like, well, Yiddish phrase, I don't even know what it was. I'm 38. She still pulls Yiddish phrases and words out of her ass. And I'm like, mother, you have never said that before. And she'll be like, what? You never heard that?
No, mother.
No, I haven't. My God.
She just keeps it fresh.
There's a lot to know, but please continue.
I love it. Well, yeah, so the term that I loved, and I actually have to look because I don't want to get it wrong.
Is it Meg's etymology time?
Oh, almost. Oh, I'm going to tack on etymology to this.
Oh, I thought was, yeah.
No, but so the term was shomer nagaya, and nagaya means, in Hebrew, is literally touch. Mm-hmm. So she understands that her clients are on the spectrum of Judaism. And so some of her clients who are very strict Orthodox, they don't want to touch until marriage. And then for others, you know, she's like, I'm not going to tell you can't touch this person, but I highly, highly, highly encourage observing this idea for at least a few weeks, or choose for yourself. She says, I see the most success love matches when people at least practice this for a few weeks.
I agree though, because the sex stuff, while fun and great and it feels good, it can muddy things. It clouds it, muddies it, and you lose. But again, God,
this is turning into like a freaking celibacy podcast.
No, it's not. No, I said it before that we want to go down that road in our own ways on our own journeys, but like
this is just one more perspective, friends.
No, right now you and I are much more interested in what you're saying that Matchmaker said, right? And I believe that the deeper connection.
I just want to know someone's brain.
I just want to know their brain.
Brain to brain.
Don't you?
Let's smush brains. Jamie,
brain smush. I love that.
There's nothing else I want to do but brain smash.
Brain smash.
Yeah, I'm all about
Let's
the brain
smash, and then we can face smash.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of brain smashing though, oh my gosh. So I'll tell Jamie my favorite etymology of the day. I hear words and I'm like, why? Why is that?
Constantly you're just like, ooh, let me look it up. What is it?
I'm a nuisance. Like I'll pause.
You're not a nuisance.
I'll pause the show and be like, why is that the word?
No, but I like it.
It's and then we all go,
like a little history lesson.
Yeah. But so I was listening to some hip hop music the other day.
That's not where I thought we were going to start.
Hip hop etymology. Actually, they are closely tied. But he goes, the aftermath. And I'm cooking him. I'm like cooking something in my Instant Pot. And I go, what does aftermath mean? Does it mean after the math? Like after the equation? Like what is that? Oh. Why is that? Why do we, it denotes something negative has happened, but why do we say after math? And so I look it up and it is not what you would expect at all. So math actually comes from Old English 1400s where math meant to mow the field. So at the end of a season, they would mow the field down or burn the field and it would recycle it for the next planting season. But so aftermath meant after.
Oh, but like if they're burning, for instance, and it looks like destruction.
Yeah, or like after the mowing. It means like just after. So it is, I think that's why now
somewhat
we use
destructive.
It, somewhat destructive.
Yeah.
But it's a farming term from the 1400s.
That is fascinating.
The aftermath. I was like, mowing these tracks. Take her out back and end it. End it.
Get the hook.
Why not?
Okay, but that's I like where it started. And what we got.
We got there.
Aftermath.
So take that one with you.
It has nothing to do with math, which I love because I hate math. I'm bad at it.
Well, great. If you like mowing.
Yeah. If you like mowing. And if you like mowing, thanks for tuning in.
Sexually.
This is mowing. Oh my God.
Let's get mowed. Oh man. Any last nuggets that you wanted to?
I think for this week, at least I want to just maybe leave it on. We're breaking down some conversation barriers that I feel like everyone should be having. If anything we have said you've related to, because that's so important too. Like maybe you felt a certain way and you didn't know what to call it or what it was. So I think just educating yourself and also just trying to practice finding your own language for when you go out and when you meet people. So you're prepared to say, this is what I want. This is what I like. This is what I don't want. This is what I don't like. And this is where I'm comfortable stopping.
Because you deserve all of that.
100%.
If we can just get curious and look for answers and find people that might be like us, and then just take the judgment off and take the stress off, because we're allowed to like what we like as long as it doesn't cause harm to others. And Jamie and I are giving you permission to stop when you want to stop and start when you want to start.
Definitely.
And please write in, and if you have questions or you want to share anything, I want to hear.
Oh, we want to hear it so bad.
Topic.
Yeah. So now's a good time to say, please write in. We really want to hear your stories, your experiences, your questions, your concerns, all of it. So please write into us at podchronic@gmail.com. And that'll be in the description below. You can follow us everywhere at chronic_pod on the YouTube.
on the Instagram,
and on the TikTok. Yes, where we're posting little nuggets every week leading up to next week's episode.
Yeah, and the link tree for all of that is going to be in the bio of all of those places. So if you want to share with people, I am getting my friend on in the next 1 or 2 episodes that has had a long experience with cancer since we were in our 20s. And so that's going to be yet another kind of chronic exploration. Yeah. So if you have people in your life that need a community like this, please share.
Yeah. And thanks again for tuning into our little chronic community.
Hell yeah.
All right. Thanks, Meg.
Yeah. Are you turned on?
No.
Jamie, as much as you tickle my brain,
no,
that's all you'll ever be tickled.
No, thank you.
No, thanks.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.